Hello and welcome. Tonight, Senate public hearing on national security holds in Jos. Key speakers highlight interagency support to tackle Nigeria's complex security challenges. House of Representatives takes a strong stance on rising insecurity. Institutes probe into the non-functioning CCTV cameras installed in Abuja for $460 million. Describe the project's failure as scandalous and embarrassing. Ahead of the January date for the implementation of Nigeria's new tax regime, the president names implementation committee to drive the process. And ECOWAS makes a bold statement, suspends Guinea-Bissau from regional bloc following this week's coup d'etat.
On business news, the Central Securities Clearance System PLC today officially implements the T2 settlement cycle in the Nigerian capital market.
On sports news tonight, Morocco's RS Berkane come from behind to beat Rivers United in New York in a CAF Champions League group campaign.
And from the nation's capital, appeal court strikes out Nnamdi Kanu's case against the DSS and the AGF for lacking merit.
The Senate and the Plateau State government are calling for inclusive, community-driven strategies to address Nigeria's mounting insecurity, stressing that sustainable peace can only be achieved through collective action across all levels of society. The call was made in Jos, the Plateau State capital, during the North Central Zonal public hearing of the 10th Senate Ad Hoc Committee on the National Security Summit, where stakeholders reviewed security challenges in the region and advanced locally informed solutions. Our correspondent, Percy Dabang, reports.
The North Central Zone public hearing on the Senate Committee on the National Security Summit is attended by traditional rulers, civil society groups, academics, religious leaders, and members of the public. However, governors from the region and head of major security agencies are absent from the summit. According to the state government, approximately 420 communities have been attacked and nearly 12,000 lives lost between 2001 and May 2025.
I am confident that this initiative, among others, will contribute immensely in finding lasting solutions to this national calamity that has befallen us. It is time to stop pointing fingers and comparing who lost more lives across religious and ethnic divides. It is time to join hands and unite and confront this demon.
The Senate had initiated zonal hearings to ensure that reforms are shaped by the experiences of communities affected by violence.
This summit therefore offers a unique platform for robust deliberations geared towards providing probable actionable solutions that will mitigate the security challenges.
Civil society organizations expressed disappointment with the absence of key political and security leaders, noting that an effective security response requires their full commitment.
They also tell us that beyond the setting, also that whatever we have on recommendations will back by action. And certainly some presentations have been made, recommendations have been made, the efforts of government and all levels have been given. Those commitments also should be back with action. We must and we should deliberate about making our country and communities safer.
Stakeholders are expecting recommendations from the public hearing to shape National Security Summit and drive reforms that can restore peace across the North Central Zone. Percy Dabang, Channels Television News.
As the race to deal with insecurity in the nation continues, the federal government is advocating the need for stronger interagency collaboration, data sharing, and integration of emerging surveillance geolocation technologies in order to enhance operational effectiveness. While speaking in Abuja at the closing ceremony of a 5-day conference organized by the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Minister of State for Defense, Mr. Bello Matawalle, says the emerging security threats bedeviling the nation requires greater and effective collaboration.
Member of the Order of the Strengthening Nigeria's security and countering the increasingly sophisticated threats posed by non-state actors is the central focus of the 5-day conference organized by the Defense Intelligence Agency in Abuja. armed groups and criminal networks adopt new tactics and technologies that challenge existing security structures, the need to evaluate strategic weaknesses and accelerate reforms in intelligence gathering, analysis, and real-time response dominates discussion.
The conversations, papers, and briefs presented during the conference have laid a strong foundation for the continued modernization of our intelligence ecosystem. The deliberations have reaffirmed the importance of synergy between human intelligence, signal intelligence, geospatial intelligence, and open source intelligence in tackling contemporary threats.
The need for stronger interagency collaboration, data sharing, and the integration of emerging surveillance and geolocation technologies to enhance operational effectiveness is the crux of the federal government's strategy.
Our intelligence system must continue to evolve, drawing from multiple sources and innovative approach. The focus of intelligence fusions, harnessing modern technology and human intelligence for national security, has been central to our deliberation. Modern tools such as artificial intelligence, data analytics, satellite imaging, and cyber capabilities have greatly enhanced our ability to anticipate and respond to a threat. However, technology alone is not sufficient. The experience, judgment, and dedication of our intelligence personnel remain essential.
The conference, which attracted top military leaders and intelligence experts, is aimed at evaluating strategic weaknesses and accelerating reforms in intelligence gathering, analysis, and real-time response.
Meanwhile, the federal government has expanded its regional security strategy and modernized national identity management with the formal introduction of the ECOWAS National Biometric Card, signaling a renewed offensive against transborder criminality, irregular migration, and document falsification across West Africa. Speaking in Abuja at the official launch, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubomi Tunjojo, says the activation of the biometric card marks a powerful new beginning for regional mobility and security cooperation.
This gathering is for the official launch of the ECOWAS biometric card, a scheme conceived more than a decade ago, but revived under what officials describe as President Bola Tinubu's results-driven leadership.
Remotely done. This is immigration.
With the rollout, Nigeria becomes the 7th country in the sub-region to adopt the digital credential aimed at checkmating irregular migration and transborder crimes.
This card, it's not just for the purpose of having it. It's for economic and security reasons. And we must never remove our eyes off the ball. So for us, Nigeria is committed. We have the leadership in this country at this point in time that does not talk about will, but that believes in the word have. It's not about what we will do, it's about what we have done.
Beyond its security value, the socio-economic benefits of boosting commerce, improving labor mobility, enhancing tourism, quickening border formalities, and deepening cooperation among West African nations are highlighted.
Today, with the commission for former paper-based ECOWAS travel certificates, and the transition today to a secure, digital, and interoperable credential. This signals a new era in regional mobility. The MBIC has been developed in line with international standards, including Annex 9 and Chapter 3 of the ICAO document 9303.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, who was represented by a permanent secretary, situated the rollout within Nigeria's long-standing commitment to regional cohesion.
We are not just here to roll out an identity card. We are here activating a powerful engine for regional transformation. The ECOWAS National Biometric Identity Card MBIC is a key that will unlock a chapter of secure, integrated, and prosperous West Africa.
With the card, the minister believes Nigeria is not only strengthening its borders, but reaffirming its leadership in a region seeking safer mobility, deeper integration, and a digitally driven future.
More on security, and this time from the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives has inaugurated an ad hoc committee to investigate the rising insecurity in the Federal Capital Territory, despite the installation of a $460 million CCTV system funded through a Chinese loan. Speaking at its inaugural session, Chairman of the committee, Honorable Ojogo Donald, who described the failed CCTV project as a scandal of monumental proportions, further stated that the worsening security challenges in Abuja had turned the city into a theater of fear, despite the millions of dollars budgeted for the CCTV cameras.
No one knows what has taken place, and it is not in the interest of our citizens in the country. So once that did not happen, even after the initiative must have been mooted, we felt obliged to ensure that we reverse this ugly trend by at least ensuring that this whopping sum that was invested does not go in vain. By today's standard, $460 million is minimum of 660 billion naira. And you know what that can fund in our national budget. So that will not be allowed to go into the waste bins. But like we have stated, the mandate of the Speaker is clear. Our mandate is also clear. We are on a truth hunt. We are not on a wish hunt.
The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, says preparations are in top gear for Nigeria to host its first ever air show and has issued a no-fly advisory during the period of air display. Addressing journalists after inspecting the venue of the event at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja, the minister stated that this is part of safety measures put in place for a smooth run of the event. The minister also explained that the air show provides a platform for Nigeria to promote the country's aviation industry and help woo foreign investors.
The show kicks off on Tuesday and it will run through to Thursday with various events lined up every day, including an air display by the Nigerian Air Force on the first day and on the last day. You'll have a wonderful display in the skies for everybody to see. We decided to do this in order to showcase Nigeria to the world. Air shows around the world are opportunities for those countries to showcase what their aviation ecosystem have to offer the world. So for us, this is the first time in the history of Nigeria we're doing an international air show, and we are expecting foreign visitors, foreign airlines, foreign investors to come and see what we have to offer. So it is just a platform for Nigeria to showcase itself. So Nigeria has a lot to gain. Nigeria is gaining international attention, is gaining potential foreign investment, and attracting a lot of people into Nigeria. For the days they are going to do the display, we have issued a NOTAM. A NOTAM is that there will be no flight around that period. The head of NAMA for now, who is here, you heard him say that inside, those who control the airspace NAMA. So for that brief period where there will be air display, people have been told already not to fly in or fly out, to hold their flights for that period, not to fly into Abuja for that period, while the sky is agog. Just for that hour, for example, the first day there's a 1 hour display, just close it for 1 hour. And then the last day, we are not closing the airspace. No.
In part two, after the break, ahead of the January date for the implementation of Nigeria's new tax regime, the President names implementation committee to drive the process. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Senate public hearing on national security holds in Jos. Key speakers highlight interagency support to tackle Nigeria's complex security challenges. House of Representatives takes a strong stance on rising insecurity, institutes probe into the non-functioning CCTV cameras installed in Abuja for $460 million. Described the project's failure as scandalous and embarrassing. Ahead of the January date for the implementation of Nigeria's new tax regime, the president names the implementation committee to drive the process. And ECOWAS makes a bold statement, suspends Guinea-Bissau from the regional bloc following this week's coup d'etat. President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of the National Tax Policy Implementation Committee. The committee, chaired by Mr. Joseph Tegbe, is to ensure the implementation of the administration's landmark tax reforms in line with the economic aspirations of the government and the people of Nigeria. It is also expected to enhance revenue mobilization, minimize leakages, and reinforce accountability, thereby strengthening the government's fiscal sustainability and national development objectives. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, says the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, will oversee the committee's work. In addition, President Bola Tinubu emphasized that effective implementation of the Tax Acts is central to the nation's economic transformation agenda and critical to strengthen public finance management while safeguarding the legitimate expectations of investors and the productive sectors. So let's now head to the nation's capital, and Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Millicent, over to you.
Thank you, Ayatunde. Well, we'll begin in the courtroom, where the Court of Appeal Abuja has struck out the appeal by the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, on alleged rights violation. The appellate court struck out Kanu's appeal, who has now been convicted of terrorism on grounds that it had lacked merit and had become academic following his conviction for terrorism offences by a federal high court. Now, delivering judgment, a three-member panel of the appellate court found that Kanu's claim that his fundamental rights to human dignity, right to quality health care and religion were being breached by his continued detention in the facility of the Department of State Services, DSS, was no longer feasible since his conviction, life imprisonment sentence and remand in prison custody. In the lead judgment, Justice Bolo Kuromo Ugo held that the substance of the case has become academic because Kanu's lawyer, Maxwell Opara, confirmed that his client was being held in Sokoto prison. Subsequently, the court could no longer order him to be moved to Kuje prison, to which he had sought to be relocated to from the DSS custody. Justice Ugo further held that having earlier exhibited preference for prison custody, the court could no longer grant his prayers since he has been convicted and sent to the prison where he had wanted to be kept. The judgment was on Mr. Kanu's appeal against the July 3rd judgment by Justice Taiwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja, now retired, which earlier dismissed his fundamental rights enforcement suit on grounds that he failed to prove his case. Away from the court, African countries have been called upon to stop lamenting and agonizing over their inability to provide basic needs for their populace, but make use of divine given natural resources to turn around the fortunes for their countries. Renowned public speaker and international mediator, Professor Patrick Lumumba, had made the call at the 50th anniversary celebration of the University of Ilorin. According to him, Africa remains the only continent where academics are undervalued while politicians become millionaires. A situation, he says, must change for the continent to move forward.
You imagine what Nigeria can do in research. You imagine what Nigeria can do in the health sector. You imagine what Nigeria can do in mining. You imagine what Nigeria can do in the blue economy. You imagine what Nigeria can do in the development of the youth. You imagine what Nigeria can do in artificial intelligence. You imagine. And stop lamenting. One of the things that we do in Africa, and if there was a gold medal in that regard, Africa would win on a daily basis. Lamentation. Agonization without organization. The time is now for this university, and as we look at education, as I talk to you now, Africa is at crossroads. asking ourselves which road should we take. And permit me a little latitude, because as I speak to you now, Africa is crumbling.
Over to health. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohamed Pate, says Nigeria can only achieve meaningful progress in the health sector when government and development partners work together with a shared vision. He was speaking at the 2025 National Health Dialogue hosted by Premium Times in partnership with the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development.
Nigeria is not buried of capacity. There are lots of individual capacity, but they are all working at cross purposes. But to bring that together and have a compact, why did it take this long to have a compact that says this is ask, this is offer? To put structures for transparency, for accountability, for quarterly performance dialogues, to have joint reviews. We just finished our joint review, so we assess our performance. What we've done under this presidency is to say, let's begin to fix it in a determined way and not be distracted. And let's begin to show results and help that others, whether media, whether states, whether local government, whether partners, instead of complaining, let's join hands. Let states also key into what the president is trying to do.
Health sector investment initiative provides a framework to deliver health dividends from the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is a reform-focused government. As you will all be aware, and I'm sure you all know, lots of reforms going on at the same time and with rapid speed. Of course, they've come with initial pains, but you see, when you're making change, typically it's painful. But I think if we pay attention and we all are going to be honest with ourselves, I think we see the light at the end of the tunnel, because a lot of things that were driving the country down, I think, have now been arrested. Beyond health, we look forward to continued engagement and mutual accountability.
To company news, building on the Binational Commission framework, MTN has hosted the 25th anniversary ceremony of Nigeria-South Africa Chamber of Commerce to celebrate the bilateral cooperation and long-standing diplomatic commitments between both countries. The exhibition and dinner highlighted the strategic role of Nigeria and South Africa as economic powerhouses whose partnership is vital to driving the continent's prosperity through infrastructure expansion, digital innovation, regulatory alignment, and inclusive growth.
Senior government officials, business leaders, and other stakeholders converge on the MTN Rooftop Plaza for the 25th anniversary of the Nigeria-South Africa Chamber of Commerce, hosted by MTN Nigeria. Reflecting on the 2.5 decades of partnerships between the Nigeria-South Africa Chamber of Commerce and MTN, the event explores avenues to improve the ease of doing business between Nigeria and South Africa, including pathways for joint investment in telecoms, fintech, energy and manufacturing.
I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to all that has contributed to the Chamber's success. We celebrate not just an institution, but a legacy of partnerships, progress.
These collaborations have not only delivered economic value, they've strengthened people's connections and reinforced the idea that Africans can and continue to build globally competitive enterprises. And as a government, we recognize the strategic value of this relationship and remain resolutely committed to sustaining Lagos as the region's most business-friendly environment.
Leaders and partners of the Chamber are awarded and appreciated for their exemplary service.
I am very, very convinced, and I have no doubt in my mind that when we come together diplomatically as two countries, when the two people come together, which we haven't yet, we will be dynamite.
It is precisely because South Africa and Nigeria are amongst the 4 biggest economies in the continent. And it is up to South Africa and Nigeria to industrialize themselves so that they can industrialize the rest of the continent.
Established in May 2000, the Nigeria-South Africa Chamber of Commerce is created to foster and strengthen trade, investment and business cooperation between both countries.
Our chamber has served as a catalyst, building trust between the two countries. And this trust has translated into businesses. And we are trying to even create more avenues, even for Nigerian businesses, especially in the creative aspect, where you have young entrepreneurs and help them have governance structures to enable them find their feet, even in South Africa.
By hosting this engagement, MTN reinforces its commitment to facilitating cross-border collaboration and supporting frameworks that enable African businesses thrive across the continent.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Central Securities Clearing System PLC today officially implements the T2 settlement cycle in the Nigerian capital markets. That's all business news. Please join us again.
Welcome back. Lagosians may be heading into a December filled with richer cultural experiences as a new creative initiative takes shape. At the partnership signing ceremony, Access Bank, working with the Lagos State Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, introduced the Dirty Fusion Initiative, a platform designed to celebrate and strengthen the city's cultural heritage.
The shimmering mahogany conference table reflects the energy of collaboration as policymakers and creative industry leaders gather for the Access Bank Dirty Fusion flag-off and partnership signing ceremony.
Thank you very much.
Ahead of the festive season and in partnership with the Lagos State Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Access Bank is creating a platform designed to preserve, promote and celebrate the city's vibrant cultural landscape.
The Dirty Fusion will serve as a centralized hub where users can explore calendars of events, purchase tickets, access exclusive discounts, participate in curative festive experience, and make safe, seamless payments through the holiday period.
Remarks throughout the day highlight the significance of the partnership, positioning it as a flagship initiative that showcases Lagos's creative energy to national and global audiences.
Lagos is not the cultural center of Nigeria, it's of Africa, and we're actually the cultural heartbeat, the entertainment heartbeat of Africa. We have moved from the fifth largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa to the second after Cairo, according to statistics that we have. So the government, Mr. Governor, is doing a lot. The ministry is also in its own stride committed to doing much more than we have done. We have achieved over 85% of what we said we're going to achieve this year. And culture is central to all this.
I'm happy that with partnerships like this, this is the way Lagos has been going, and we will continue, to move forward like this. So on that note, I really want to thank, Access Bank, for doing this, and I also want to thank you again for also extending your, this support to agencies that, when it comes to a time like this, we usually stress them so much. A few months ago, in February, we looked at what gives people pain during the whole festive period. So whether you look at overpriced tickets, absence of accommodation, people curate shows and things like that, and the customers can't pay for it because there are things around chargeback. And that's why we came up with the thought and initiative around the Dirty Fusion, solving those problems and giving value so that at the end of the day, there's some sense of shared value across. And then lastly, in partnering with Lagos State, is helping to tell the true story and the true spirit of Lagos.
By focusing on strategic collaboration, this initiative reflects the power of partnership in pushing forward the rich cultural heritage of Lagos, making the city a landmark for arts and tourism.
Promoting enterprise and empowering young innovators with support which brings their projects to fruition forms part of the motivation for Leap Africa, a youth-focused leadership development organization. At an event in Lagos with the theme Africa as the Sector, Maximizing Possibilities Through Technology, Finance and Policy, Board Chair, Leap Africa, Claire Omache, points out the significant role the younger generation should play in national development. Our correspondent, Olumide Makole, reports.
The exterior location of the venue lends no clue to the event that's about to unfold inside. But once within, the room filled with innovators, change makers, entrepreneurs, founders, and policymakers point to the theme, Africa as a sector, maximizing possibilities through technology, finance, and policy of Leap Africa.
We are going today to reposition our continent, reposition Nigeria, reposition Africa as a global force, not just as a collection of fragmented sectors, but as the sector that will drive global progress.
A speed talk takes place, and a panel session closing Africa's digital divide with smart policy and investment.
Our focus has been at Ashoka and our partners providing young people with a new set of skills. So, of course, digital skills, but also change-making skills. So when I say change-making, that is a person that identifies a problem in a community or in their immediate school community, whatever it is, innovates a solution for that problem and works with a team to bring that solution to fruition.
One or two. In terms of a really inclusive digital strategy, what I find is that it has to be baked in from the very beginning. So it's not an add-on, it's not a nice to have, it's not a mid-year review tag-on item. It's something that has to be part of not just your annual planning, but your long-term strategic planning.
Innovators pitch their ideas for prospective financing.
At the same time, we can expand the farms and at the same time expand our impact.
Our goal is to connect real-world experience with academic concept, and in doing so, increase employability in youth.
That's amazing. I see somebody trying to calculate 1,000.
After the event, the expectations are made clear.
Should start working to have them at the table, not, oh, we've come up with something, what do you think? But right at the inception stage, there's this problem. Oh yeah, let's have your perspectives on what the root causes are, what the solution should be, and what is possible, and what do we need to do to actually make those things happen.
Board Chair, Leap Africa, Claire Omache, sums it up.
We can't have 70% of the youth population, below 30, and the rest of us think we can lead the way. We need to empower them and need to encourage them, and then that will be, for us, success.
Recognizing the place of young innovators in Nigeria and providing the environment where they thrive will perhaps be a significant achievement in any economy to help the country get to a place of future-forward leadership.
Come on, clap for them now.
Business News is up next with Dominic Iwill.
Thank you, Ayotunde. And on business news, the Central Securities Clearing System PLC today officially implemented the T2 settlement cycle in the Nigerian capital market. A statement from the CSCS says that with the transition to the T2 settlement cycle, all trades executed from today will now settle 2 business days after the trade date. And this will strengthen operational efficiency, enhance market liquidity, and significantly reduce counterparty risk, while ensuring quicker access to funds and securities. The transition also positions Nigeria more competitively within the global capital market landscape, where shorter settlement cycles are increasingly becoming the standard. The Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. Imomotimi Agama, had made this in the middle of the year announced plans to transition Nigeria's capital markets from a T3 to a T2 settlement cycle. Cavalli Business and Investment Group has introduced a reconstituted board of directors as part of a broader effort to reinforce its leadership framework and accelerate the company's growth agenda. The ceremony, which held in Lagos, had in attendance prominent industry stakeholders and senior executives. The new board is expected to drive the group's long-term strategy, unlock fresh investment prospects, and boost performance across its subsidiaries. Indigenous diversified company Cavalli Business and Investment Group, with investment interests across real estate, construction, infrastructure, facility management, and investment services, operating through multiple subsidiaries, now has a new board of directors. The company formally inaugurates the new board of directors as part of its strategic effort to strengthen corporate governance and position the company for its next phase of growth.
Cavalli has been doing quite a great job for the last 15 years. With this new board, we just want to enhance and make sure we take them to greater heights. There is a huge gap in the real estate space. I want to try and make sure we are well invested in it. We at Cavalli do middle income and luxury properties, but that does not mean that we cannot partner with government.
Company executives say the board brings diverse expertise across key sectors and is expected to drive Cavalli's long-term growth and expand its presence in major markets.
When you see the name Cavalli, you will know this is the company. So the brand visibility, the reputation, and brand recognition. And importantly, value. They give value to the customers, create value, deliver value to the prime customers.
The board members pledged their commitment to promoting transparency, strengthening stakeholder confidence, and steering the company towards sustainable expansion.
For us in Cavalli Group, we do more of luxury projects, luxury apartments. But there are areas where the federal government and the state government, even the local government, can come on board and partner with a company like Cavalli Group. We have seen instances where there's a lot of complaints in terms of, affordability of houses. You understand? In a city like Lagos. Lagos is a mega city. So if government can provide, infrastructure. You understand? So places outside the metropolis, places that are more affordable, it will be much easier for developers to go to these areas and build affordable housing to governments.
Cavalli Business and Investment Group described the development as a significant milestone aimed at reinforcing its corporate structure and aligning with global best practices as it scales its operations. It's been quite the week for the stock markets in Nigeria, from 2 days of big losses to 3 days of some recovery. Lady Williams has more.
It's official. The T2 settlement cycle is live on the last trading day of November. I guess a nice Black Friday gift for investors at this time. And the bulls, they brought in some buying power today with volume and trades up about 462% and 53%, taking the all-share index up 0.20%, 143,520 points. So I guess 3 out of the 5 trading days in the green at this point. For the sectoral performance now, consumer goods counter shines today with, Cadbury Nigeria gaining 4 naira. Champion Brewery is up about, 60 kobo, taking the counter up 0.57%. Now we see some of the tier 1 banks too also rising, taking the banking counter up 0.25%. Oil and gas, the laggard, down 0.19%. I will see the market mover again, MTN Nigeria, adding to share price, closing at 417 naira, 60 kobo, just like yesterday. So with T+2 settlement cycle live today, I guess if you sold a stock, you should have value by Tuesday next week.
And that's it on Business News. Back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you so much, Dominic. West Africa's regional bloc ECOWAS has suspended Guinea-Bissau's membership hours after an army general, Hortan Tam, was sworn in as the country's president. The The decision was reached at a virtual session of ECOWAS Mediation and Security Council chaired by Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio on Thursday night. The meeting included leaders from Cabo Verde, Ghana, Liberia, Nigeria, Senegal, and Benin, among others. It's Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5 from our London studios.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The number of people who have died in a devastating fire that engulfed multiple high-rise buildings in Hong Kong has risen to at least 128. A further 79 people have been injured in the city's deadliest blaze in more than 70 years, which occurred in the northerly suburb of Tai Po, while dozens remain missing. The tower blocks had been undergoing renovations when the fire began. The cause of the blaze remains unclear, but officials said on Friday that styrofoam placed on the outside of the windows facilitated its rapid spread. 3 people overseeing the renovations are under arrest for manslaughter, and authorities have launched a corruption inquiry.
Our firefighting operation is almost complete. Despite that, we are still carrying out firefighting operation to 4 individual units, and damping down to various units of the 7 blocks are still in progress, so as to prevent the debris and embers from flaring up.
Donald Trump has said he will permanently pause migration to the US from all third world countries. The US president wrote that the decision would allow the US system to fully recover from immigration policies that he said had eroded the gains and living conditions of many Americans. He did not provide details of his plan or name which countries might be affected. Trump's comments come a day after an Afghan national was accused of shooting 2 members of the National Guard in Washington, D.C., one of whom has since died. Sarah Beckstrom succumbed to her injuries, while the second National Guard member, 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, is fighting for his life.
And the prior administration made the decision to allow thousands of people into this country without doing a single piece of background checking or vetting. As part of the Afghan refugees and evacuees, as during my tenure, we are going through the databases to make sure that no known or suspected terrorists enter this country to harm our nation.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says his chief of staff has resigned following an anti-corruption raid. It's after Ukraine's anti-corruption agencies said they were searching the apartment of Andriy Yermak. He has played a crucial role in Ukraine's response to Russia's full-scale war, and he is Kyiv's lead negotiator in peace talks with the US. However, his position had become increasingly under threat from critics calling for him to go. At least 10 people have been killed in an Israeli raid on a village in southern Syria overnight, in one of the deadliest incidents of its kind for months. It said children were among the dead. Sanaa news agency said residents of Beit Jin confronted Israeli troops, leading to a firefight. Airstrikes were also carried out. The Israeli Defense Forces said troops went into the village on the edge of the occupied Golan Heights to detain militants who, it said, advanced terror attacks against Israeli civilians. 6 Israeli soldiers were injured in the clashes, it said. Sanaa said that 3 people were arrested by troops before they withdrew. Guinea-Bissau's deposed president, Umaro Sissoko Embalo, has arrived in neighbouring Senegal, following his release by the military forces who toppled his government this week. It follows negotiations by the regional West Africa bloc ECOWAS to secure his transfer, amid rising tensions in Guinea-Bissau. The military in Guinea-Bissau has already sworn in a new transitional leader, General Horta Tam, who will rule the country for a year. Pope Leo XIV has been filmed struggling to unveil a plaque during his visit to an Istanbul church. The pontiff was seen tugging at the troublesome cloth in the Cathedral of the Holy Spirit as he attempted to reveal the marble tablet commemorating his trip to Turkey. Church clergy and security staff joined in the tussle, but the white sheet stubbornly hung on one corner. The Pope arrived in Turkey on Thursday and will be heading to Lebanon's capital Beirut on Sunday. And 3 Austrian nuns in their 80s who ran away from the old people's home where they were placed have been told they can stay in their former convent until further notice. However, church authorities say they can only stay if they stop posting on social media. Sister Bernadette, Sister Regina and Sister Rita are the last 3 nuns at the Kloster Goldenstein convent in Elsbethen, just outside Salzburg. The 3 nuns say they were taken out of the convent against their will in December 2023. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Tigers guard Ike Nwamo is confident they'll make up for the opening defeat to Tunisia when they take on Guinea on Saturday at the ongoing FIBA World Cup African qualifier in Tunisia. With 7 new players in the team roster for the tournament, but the Tigers had just 1 hour to practice ahead of their opening fixture for the qualifiers.
When you come in to another country and you're playing the home team, you can't, there's not really any room for error, and we made a lot of errors, 25 turnovers, and even with that we still had an opportunity to win it at the end, and we went to overtime. So I mean, it hurts, it really hurts. It's frustrating because as a competitor you want to win. It sucks that we lost, but it's a part of the game. Nobody has ever won every single game they've played in, so all we can do now is just continue to look forward and work and try to build some chemistry for these next 2 games, find some consistency, and then we'll have some success.
Nigeria's last team standing in the CAF Champions League, Rivers United, suffered a late setback earlier this evening as Moroccan giant RS Berkane scored 2 goals in 2 minutes to pull a comeback to 1 victory in their second Group A clash at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo. The hosts went into the break with a 1-0 advantage after a disciplined first-half performance. However, the game turned dramatically in stoppage time when Berkane scoring twice in the final minutes to overturn the result. This is the second defeat for the Pride of Rivers in the group phase. And England manager Sarina Wiegman and captain Kira Walsh are thrilled with the UK's bid to host the 2035 Women's World Cup. The UK are the only bidder for the tournament, making it essentially guaranteed. And Wiegman said it is yet another opportunity to boost the profile of women's football. The announcement of the UK's bid came as England's women's team prepared for their final matches of the year, with China up first at Wembley Stadium.
But it's really exciting because if you see what it's going to look like, it's going to be the biggest event worldwide ever, which is really exciting. And of course, what we also all experience that the women's game is growing, and we want to keep pushing, keep going. So yes, I'm really excited about it.
I think obviously we want women's football in those stadiums, and I think to have it around the UK makes it even more special. I think having it in Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland is a great opportunity for them and the girls in their countries as well. And I'm excited to see it.
That's sport. It's back to you, Ayo.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Senate public hearing on national security has held in Jos in Plateau State, where key speakers highlighted interagency support to help tackle Nigeria's complex security challenges. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Do have a great weekend.